Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving deep into something we all rely on every single day, yet maybe don't truly understand. Memory.
Right. It feels so fundamental, doesn't it?
Totally essential. And yet our source suggests it's often, well, profoundly misunderstood, even abused.
Abused. That's a strong word.
It is. But think about its power. Memory can help us build a whole philosophy of life.
Or tear it down just as fast.
Exactly. It can strengthen belief, destroy it, lead to happiness or misery. The source even says it can contribute to life or hasten death.
Wow. So it's much more than just remembering where you put your keys.
Much more. We're going to unpack how memory isn't just recall. It shapes who you are, your reality, and maybe even your place in the cosmos.
And our source jumps right in, doesn't it? Emphasizing that memory is really in need of discipline.
A discipline, it says, is, well, vanishing from modern life.
Yeah, this tendency we have now to push thoughts aside, responsibilities, avoid routines.
Even though those routines might actually strengthen memory.
Precisely. That avoidance, the source argues, that's the heart of the problem today.
Okay. So, our mission for this deep dive. Let's try to pull out the most important nuggets about memory, its challenges, how it can distort things.
How it guards integrity.
And then get into those really surprising cosmic implications. We want to help you understand not just what memory is, but why disciplining it matters so much for your life.
Sounds like a plan. Where do we start?
Okay, let's unpack this first bit. The source makes a pretty bold claim, suggesting that maybe the most important thing from schooling isn't just what we learn, but strengthening and disciplining memory itself. That feels kind of counterintuitive today, right?
It does, especially when we focus so much on, say, critical thinking. But the source elaborates. It's not just rote learning for its own sake.
So what is it then?
It points to those foundational exercises, like spelling tests, multiplication tables, even things like social graces.
Social graces as memory discipline.
As disciplines of the mind, yeah. The idea is that these rigorous, kind of repetitive practices built mental muscle, a structure for clear thinking.
Training the mind to focus, retain, process, that sort of thing.
Exactly, building that internal structure.
And what happens if that muscle isn't developed? If the mind stays undisciplined?
Well, the source draws a parallel. An undisciplined mind, like an uncontrolled body, can cause a great many problems.
Okay, makes sense.
This lack of rigor leads to constant interruptions, inconsistent thoughts. It even fosters this deliberate effort to ignore experiences.
Especially uncomfortable ones, I bet.
Right, and that ultimately corrupts the memory faculty. We lose that power, as the source puts it, to think from A to B and from B to C.
We lose the ability to build coherent thoughts. That's quite stark.
It is.
So if this discipline is so crucial, where does it start? Or where does the lack of it start? The source suggests it begins really early, childhood.
It does. It claims we can actually inherit mental infirmities as a birthright if our parents haven't disciplined themselves.
Wow.
Inherit? Yeah, it sets this pattern where kids then find it easier to, avoid or evade family discipline. An undisciplined home makes it harder to self-discipline later.
So the problem isn't just forgetting things. It's deeper. It actually corrupts the memories we do have.
That's the alarming part. The source talks about this tendency to imagine many, many conditions and then bestow upon these imaginations the strength of a memory factor.
Okay, break that down. What does that look like? Is it like creating a false memory?
Essentially, yes. It's more than just misremembering a small detail. It's constructing narratives, maybe subtly twisting past events to justify ourselves.
Or blowing a comment out of proportion, convincing yourself it was an insult.
Exactly that kind of thing, leading to remembering things that never happened, or distorting events so much they can't teach us anything real.
And then it gets darker. Memory used as a method or means of evasion?
Right. To get out of things, impress people, shift blame.
And the source calls this state a perpetual adolescent, or even a juvenile delinquent. That's harsh.
It's very harsh, especially when applied to someone who might be, say, 70 years old.
But why would that persist? Why wouldn't decades of experience fix it?
The source suggests it's because the faculty itself was never disciplined. That internal compass for truth is off. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the source argues our modern subsidiary helps, the written word, media, all that external info, are themselves corrupted.
Oh, great. So we can't rely on external stuff.
And if we try to rely only on ourselves, we find we might not even have the capacity to form a meaningful opinion because our own memory, our own judgment is flawed.
That's a bit of a crisis, isn't it? A crisis of knowing what's true.
It really highlights that, yes.
Okay, so this brings us to a critical point. If external sources are shaky and our own memories can be unreliable, what's left?
The source insists the mind has another job. It has to be a kind of guardian.
A guardian of what?
A protector of integrities, like a bouncer for ideas, deciding what gets in, what aligns with your core truths.
So in this messy information world, sober thinking, digging into our own experience, that's the only way.
It becomes the only answer, according to the source. Like that anecdote about the doctor's remedy?
Right. If it makes you worse, your memory flags it. You learn.
Exactly. Your experience becomes the judge.
But why do we sometimes ignore that clear evidence when things go wrong in other parts of life?
Well, that touches on the censorship factor of memory and the problem of cluttered minds.
Cluttered minds.
Yeah. The source says most minds are just a mass of conflicting concepts and opinions, and frankly, many are worthless, whether they are true or not.
So the job is to clear the clutter.
To clear the mind for the essential judgments of living. This applies everywhere, even complex areas like religion. You could study a creed your whole life.
Only to find it wasn't quite right in the first place, because the initial input was flawed, or your mind couldn't see it.
Exactly, if the discerning faculty isn't strong.
Sure. So given all this, corrupted memories, unreliable opinions, what does the source say a fact actually is?
It's a really interesting definition. A fact must be reasonable.
Okay. Reasonable. Got it.
It must be proven in the past through experience. And crucially, facts are fundamentally moral issues.
Moral issues. How so?
They can't be contrary to the experienced good of mankind. Think of those ancient laws. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not covet.
Universal truths, sort of.
Right. And violating them, the source says, comes from a mind where the internal integration has not recorded the validity of this statement. It hasn't become an undeniable internal fact for that person.
It's not just recalling the rule, it's deeply knowing its truth.
Precisely. And the mind itself is in this constant tug of war.
How do you mean?
It has two distinct processes. One defends the right, the other tries to tear it down. If a truth is uncomfortable.
The first instinct is to get rid of it.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
To justify ignoring it. And that inevitably leads to trouble.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for everyday life, right? The tangible consequences.
Definitely. As we age, this undisciplined mind becomes an overworked mental structure.
Leading to poor judgment by, 40 or 45?
That's what the source suggests. It uses these vivid images. A haunted house, an attic of antiques.
Full of stuff, but you don't know its value or how to use it?
Exactly. The mind gets fatigued. It suffers from intellectual indigestion.
Huh. Intellectual indigestion. I like that.
And then it begins to drop out things.
Forgetting.
Yeah, it usually starts with unimportant things, right? A phone call where you left something.
Happens to everyone.
Sure. But then, in the middle years, maybe 20s to 50s, great many details begin to fall out. Names, dates, important facts you used to know instantly.
And this is where it connects back to the corruption idea. Where facts begin to fail, imagination comes in.
Yes, but not creative imagination. It's the imagination that invents excuses, blames others.
Creates that double world where we usually write our own story and everyone else is wrong.
That's the one. The source gives that really poignant example of the teenager.
The one who blamed everyone but himself, even when admitting his own part.
Yeah. He could only see what others did to him. His mind filtered out his own responsibility. It's a powerful illustration of that undisciplined filter.
And these uncorrected patterns, they have huge consequences.
Huge. The source is blunt. Every alcoholic has had experiences that should have cured him, but his mind was not strong enough to learn.
Wow.
Even religious dedication struggles. It mentions evangelists finding 90% of the converts had to be reconverted at least once a year.
Not because they weren't sincere, but
because of a fundamental lack of insight, lack of judgment, lack of common sense. The disciplined inner resources just weren't there to make the experience stick.
Okay, we've seen memories shape daily life, integrity, even decline. But the source goes much, much further. It asks, what if memory isn't just in us, but part of something cosmic?
Right. Does it die with us? Or is it part of an entire cosmic lesson?
So what's the perspective there? Does it transcend the physical?
The source suggests it does. It talks about memories being locked within our own eternal natures.
Eternal nature.
Yeah. When the physical brain goes, The mind is absorbed into the higher vehicles of life, identified again with universal mind, the key idea. The thoughts that we think do not die.
They persist somehow.
That's the concept. And it explains why we might come into a life with a feeling, a dream, or a nightmare. Remnants from previous embodiments uncorrected.
That's fascinating. How does that connect to things like natural talent, someone born a gifted musician, for example?
The source suggests it's because they disciplined himself in previous lives. That discipline built a capacity.
And that discipline can then be applied elsewhere, like science.
They can diversify, yes?
Yeah.
Progress might be rapid in a new field, not because the skill transfers directly, but because the underlying discipline, the focus is there, the capacity for deep work.
So the core lesson is discipline builds something lasting.
If we have disciplined the mind at some time, some way, it is available as a pattern of integrities when we need strength of character. That's a key takeaway.
So a successful life, in this view, isn't just about achieving goals.
It's about going out better disciplined than we were before, building that inner strength that endures.
Which brings us to this really profound mystery the source describes, the dark hole in the memory, the great dark unknown.
Yes. At life's end, the mind seems to retire into this unknown.
But it's not just a void?
Paradoxically, the source says, the unknown is nothing but truth. It's the final reason for ourselves.
Truth itself. Wow, okay.
And building on that, the source introduces this incredible Mahayana Buddhist concept, the bodhisattva, the perfected soul.
Standing on the rim of existence, having overcome all errors.
Exactly. And they face this ultimate choice, go on into the infinite.
Where there's no memory, as we know it, knowledge gone to sleep.
Right. Or out of love and compassion, turn back. Become a servant to help those still struggling.
Choosing service over oblivion, essentially.
With the ultimate goal being to take with it every creature that exists in the world. It's an immense responsibility born of compassion.
So identity with God, in this view, isn't just resting in paradise.
No, it's a transcendent destiny. Individuality fades, but still exists within this larger purpose. It's about eternal growth, active purpose.
And the path there, what does it require?
Well, discipline, certainly, but also humility, detachment from all known vice or excess, infinite tenderness toward all that lives.
And a willingness to sacrifice.
A desire to sacrifice self for that, which is less than self. The enlightened being isn't free from responsibility. They are completely involved, like a Christ or God for creation.
Guiding others.
Leading millions, yes. It's a path of profound, active, selfless service, grounded in wisdom.
So, bringing this way, way back, what does this mean for you, listening right now in your daily life?
The source connects it directly. All growth artists improving, philosophers thinking more clearly, it's all part of working towards the perfection of all that lives.
And there are specific things that hinder this, that pull us away.
Yes. Things like unkindness, pride, unwillingness to forgive, ambition to outstrip someone else, even the profit system when it's purely selfish.
Those things, they don't make it into the cosmic memory. They go into the dark hole and never comes out.
That's the idea. They are imperfections shed, not integrated into the eternal pattern.
So the mind's ultimate purpose then is
to rectify the emotions. Wisdom makes love sensible, reasonable, real.
And for people living simple lives of service.
Their memory becomes much stronger. It leads towards a release from the burden of flawed memory, transforming into a full realization of the wonder and beauty of the divine purpose.
It's quite a journey we've taken. From everyday memory glitches.
All the way to a cosmic blueprint for existence, grounded in discipline and compassion.
It really reframes the whole idea of memory, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the source leaves us with this incredible closing image.
Go on.
It says, we are all sort of moving towards an unknown cosmic end, like little atoms floating in a sunbeam, towards a great something in which all existence as we know it is absorbed, returns to the root of itself, fades away, vanishes away in the infinite.
But it's not the end.
But this vanishment is not itself, eternal in due time. These atoms will come forth again in higher pattern, in greater perfection, with more nobility of purpose.
Wow. So as you reflect on all this, maybe consider how your own efforts today, discipline, humility, service, aren't just personal.
They contribute to that grand, eternal unfolding, to creation that will never fail.
By working on our own imperfections, embracing truth in our lives, we move towards that unity again.
Towards the infinite source of all that lives. A profound thought to end on.